It's time for City Beat, your source for all the latest news on the City of Thompson. Only on 102.9 CHTM, your radio station.
Good morning, this is City Beat. I'm CJ Carter, and joining me in studio today is City Manager Gary Ceppetelli. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Now, if you have a question you'd like to ask Mr. Ceppetelli, give us a call on the on-air line, 677-8181. So to kick things off, what's been happening around the city this week?
Well, so a number of things. I mean, obviously from a recreation perspective is that both our ice surfaces have been taken out, and the rec department is really getting busy to sort of get ready for a number of events, with the Relay for Life being one of them happening this weekend, April 16th. We've got the Knights of Columbus games that happen on April the 29th. CHTM trade show obviously happening on May the 6th to the 8th. Festival of Visual Arts that happen on between May 9th and the 13th. And the Shrine Circus is coming back to town on May 20th. So really, we're sort of in our shoulder season from a recreation department, sort of doing a lot of these events, but really the department itself is sort of transitioning from inside to outside and getting ready. And hopefully weather permitting is that we're looking at installing the tennis nets at the Norplex Pool and Cliff Park next week. From a public works perspective, obviously a number of things as we get ready for the spring. We're looking at starting the sweeping program, which we have annually at the first week of May as well, weather permitting. Our waste disposal grounds are starting to open back up on the Saturday, starting on May the 7th, which will run to October the 29th. And we'll also have the e-waste collection, which will be at the waste disposal grounds as well, starting on Saturday, May 7th. Spring cleanup as well is that May is spring cleanup month. There's an opportunity for groups throughout the month to obviously gain a little cash for some fundraising events for certain organizations. May 13th, we are doing the Business Challenge from 1 to 4 on that date, and May 14th is Trash for Cash Day. So there's a number of things that are happening sort of as we transition into the spring. From a financial perspective, I mean, obviously Council has passed first reading of the levy bylaw on April 11th, which really equates to a 1.5% municipal tax increase for the public. There will be a public hearing for the financial plan on April 21st at City Hall. And the other notable aspect in regards to that is the special service levy, which we've received support from Municipal Board, has come back, and Council has sort of passed second and third reading of that bylaw on April 11th as well.
Great. Well, a whole lot of information there. That's basically all the time we have. Now, it was a quite busy council meeting this past Monday. Harkening back to those bylaws that you were talking about, the first one was the second and third reading of the special service levy being implemented to cover the cost of repairing residential service lines. Can you kind of elaborate on some of the particulars of that? Absolutely.
Is that previously there was a 5-year plan in place of a previous bylaw that really acted like an insurance policy for residential homeowners for if they had a break on any of their service lines 1 meter from their structure. So really that levy would cover the actual financial cost of digging and repairing those breaks. So that bylaw expired at the end of 15, so we had to put in place another 5-year plan. So this special service levy is that 5-year plan, which will be effective for 2016. So people will see that rate, or that particular component of the mill rate on their tax bill as a special service levy. So that had gone through a public hearing where people had an opportunity to express concerns or objections and then object further to the municipal board. So it's gone through that process. The municipal board has approved the plan, sent it back to the city, and we basically just sort of finalized the bylaw by giving it second and third reading. So now it's in full force and effect and to be effective in the tax year of 2016.
Alrighty. Now, a quick reminder, if you have a question you'd like to ask Mr. Ceppetelli, you can give us a call right now, 677-8181. Now, the other bylaw was to institute a levy. Now, you did touch on that a little bit earlier. I read through it this week. There is a lot of information there. So can you summarize a lot of the main bullet points that are super critical for me to know?
And actually, we're required on an annual basis to pass a levy bylaw. And really, the levy bylaw is the tax bylaw. and because the city is the organization that's responsible for it, so the components of the school district, whatever their mill rate is contained in that bylaw, along with a variety of other activities that we have that are individually parceled out in that bylaw that talk to such things as the library, the special service levy, those type of things. So really, at the end of the day, what it amounts to is that bylaw, as I indicated in my opening remarks, really is that the city's increase for this year, for 2016, for the municipal side of it only, is 1.5%. So really is that, so that's the first part of the process. We have to have that bylaw passed and submitted to the province by May 15th. On an annual basis. Another part of the process, obviously, is having a public hearing for the financial plan, which really details all the activities that that council has or will be undertaken in 2016. So that financial plan is set for April 21st at City Hall at 7 o'clock.
Okay. Now, speaking of that financial plan, copies are available online and at City Hall, so anyone that wants to look it over, they can do that there. What are you hoping for by having the public attend? What sort of feedback are you?
Well, I mean, really, the feedback is to having the public attend is really sort of give them a better indication as to sort of what plans council has in store for 2016, and really gives them an opportunity to sort of hear what that plan is, both from an operational and from a capital perspective, but also sort of to get their feedback on that plan. So if there's a need to sort of make any changes or major changes, I mean, this is the opportunity. But in the most cases, it's really to really detail what council and the city determines or feels that they're going to be undertaken from an operational and capital perspective.
Okay. Now, today is the first day of the Hope Forum happening right now at the TRCC. It's geared towards defeating the stigma surrounding suicide and mental health. Would you talk a little bit about the importance of people attending this event?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, obviously it's been very paramount in the news over the last couple of weeks or so in regards to a number of attempted suicides across Canada. And we've had some suicides in our community as well. So I think it's really to, the attendance to sort of get a better understanding and try to break down some of those barriers and those stigmas that are associated with suicide. So I think this is an ongoing conference that's held over the last number of years. The city has been involved by sending representatives from administration to the event. I mean, obviously this year that will have a larger presence with having our community safety officers attend as well. So I think it's really sort of just having those conversations and feeling more comfortable to talk about it and really break down those barriers so that we can put in place programs and supports for individuals that need them. For
sure. Now, a question that was sent to me online this morning, and thanks to Bobby for sending this in. Apparently earlier this morning there were some phone problems throughout the city. It sounded like phone lines were down because of the freezing rain this morning. Not too sure if the phones are back working as of yet, but the question that was asked is, what are the options available in case of an emergency if phones aren't working? Like if somebody needs ambulance or RCMP, what can they do if they can't call?
Sure, and I think very valid question. I mean, it's likely less of an issue in this day and age. I mean, obviously, given the fact is that most everybody would have a cell phone, so it gives that extra option when the hard lines do go down. So we haven't received any comments in regards to some of those issues at this point, but it's I think that there's always those options out there, and everybody having the availability of mobile phones really sort of takes a lot of the that issue away.
Alrighty. Now, was there anything else that you wanted to mention before we wrap up?
Well, I think just from a safety sheriff perspective, as you mentioned, I mean, obviously we're hit with freezing rain this morning, and the roads and sidewalks are extremely treacherous. Even though the temperatures are going above zero, it may look like it's wet and whatnot, but they're very treacherous. So wear the proper footwear if you're walking. Be aware of sort of where you're stepping in so that you don't slip and fall. And same thing from driving is take that extra caution, slow down. Take a safe distance behind vehicles so that you don't get into an accident.
Absolutely. Even the city transit was they tried it out this morning. They didn't feel safe, so they are back on the roads now, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, great.
And we're in the process. I mean, obviously, our sanders are out and sanding all some of the higher traffic areas.
Oh, for sure. All right, well, thanks again, Mr. Ceppetelli, for coming in and joining us today for this edition of City Beat for 102.9 CHTM. I'm CJ Carter.
City Beat will be back next Thursday morning at